Hi, I'm George Pearson, and in this Photoshop Elements video, we'll be doing this nice kind of dreamy picture of a girl on a flight someplace for a vacation, and we'll be making this out of this picture right here, and this picture of the girl right there, and this coffee mug picture. Now if you like this video, make sure you click that like button, and of course, share through social media. Also, don't forget to subscribe as well. Just click on that subscribe button right down there. And to really learn how to use Photoshop Elements, take a look at my complete training course, and there's a link for that in the description. Okay, let's get to it. In this composite photo, we'll be using the face for one picture, the background sky from another picture, and then this window frame here actually comes from this coffee mug right over there. So we'll be using those three pieces to create this kind of fake flight image. This was taken from a news article I saw just a couple of days ago of a recent trend over in Chinese social media on doing exactly this. They're using video though, and they'll put a little video behind that, so it looks like it's actually a bit of video. But fun idea. I thought, what the heck, let's go ahead and see if we can do this with our still images. So to do this, we'll start off by closing this one down. No need to keep that up there. I'll just go ahead and save that. There we go. And we'll start off by bringing up that picture of the sky, which I happen to have right there. There it is. Now all three of those pictures, you'll find links to download those on my website. There's a download link right in the description. We'll start off with this picture. The first thing I want to do is I want to convert this into a vertical image, and we'll do that by using the crop tool and crop it to an 8x10 format. So let's go to the crop tool. It's right down here, and I have mine on my little drop down list here. It's set for 8x10, which is just off our screen right down below there. So set it 8x10, or you can just type in 8x10 here, and it's a vertical format. Now this gives you some different options. You can kind of scroll through here and find the one that you like. Now the window is going to be here, and her face will be on the left-hand side, so I want to have more cloud on the right-hand side. You can actually take this and move it around manually. You don't have to use their choices down here. You can just go ahead and grab this and move it. And I think I'll put most of the cloud over here towards the right-hand side. And that looks pretty good. There's our crop. So click on the check mark there, and here's the image cropped in. Now it's a little bit dull, as you can see. It's not the world's best photo, so we can brighten our photo up, and we'll do that with an adjustment layer. I like to use adjustment layers because I can always go back and change them later on if I want to. So let's go ahead and do an adjustment layer, new adjustment layer, levels. And on this one it doesn't really matter because it's the background, but normally you want to have this checked so that the layer, or the adjustment rather, is only applied just to that one layer. Choose OK. Now in here, the top section will increase your contrast and the bottom section will decrease your contrast. In this case, it's kind of a low contrast, so we'll bump this up. Now left hand side is your black, so let's make our blacks darker by pulling this in. See that, how that works? And the one I used was 15. It's a personal choice as to how much you want to do this. The middle control in here controls the midtones right in there. We'll get to that in just a second. The right side controls your whites. And as you can see here, this is our histogram showing where all the values are. So there's a lot of values in here, a lot of light values. Those are your clouds. And there's almost nothing in the white. So I'm going to move the white over until we're coming into the actual part in here, the histogram, where we're seeing some values right in there. And let's pull it in and make our white areas pretty white. So like right about there looks good. So everything from here up has gone white in there. And then finally we'll just adjust the midtones to get the balance we want. I don't want it too bright like that. It would look kind of fake. I want a little bit darker than our picture is. So let's just set this at about 0.85. Looks pretty good in there. Okay, so here's our basic picture. Now the next thing we need to do is to do our window frame. And for that, we'll be using that picture of a mug. Let's go ahead and open this one up. I have it sitting up here. Now again, you can download these pictures from my website, and you'll find a link for that in the description. So let's go ahead and grab this one. There's the mug shot. I just took a fast picture of my coffee mug. And we can either just drag and drop this in, which is the easy way to do it, or you can do a file place. Either way, I'm just going to do a drag and drop. There we go. Now on this, we want the mug to be pretty good size on this. I want to have it so it's kind of like that, and so we're seeing a bit of the top, and the bottom is kind of the same thing down towards the bottom. So let's resize this. I'll pull it out so I can see a corner, and then do the Control-T keyboard shortcut. That brings up these control handles. Then just grab a corner and pull that down a little bit. You can see the whole mug right there. There we go. And we want to make this larger so that it just fits into that frame. So let's see. That's almost there, a little more. Notice how I'm dragging this up to see how it fits. And then I pull it down so I can see my corner and make a little adjustment. And then pull that back up again. And that's pretty close. It goes over here just about like that. I think just a little bit more. There we go. I think that's just about right there. Almost. A little bit larger than that. I still want to see less of that bottom. So let's pull this up just a bit more like this, and we'll see how that goes. So this is how I normally will resize things. I'll go back and forth a little bit and try different settings so I get just the look that I want. And that looks just about the way I like it. I think that looks pretty good. Now, if you want, you can just type in a number. The one I ended up here with was 127 down here. Make sure that constraint proportions is selected. But that kind of moving and adjusting, that's the way I do it to find the actual size that I want to use. Okay, and I think that looks just about right. We may want to come back and tweak this a bit later once we see how it all looks, but I think we're very close right there. Put it in that position and click the check mark. Now we need to have a hole in the middle of this in here. Now for that I'm going to pull this over just a bit to the left right there. And I set it so I can see the whole top up here and the bottom. Now it's a little bit dark. We can brighten it up a little bit first. Let's go ahead and handle that first with a new adjustment layer. Layer, new adjustment layer, levels. And again, let's go ahead and check that checkbox. Choose OK. There we go. We just want to have this a bit brighter, a bit more contrasty. So let's leave the darks where they are. I don't need to go any darker. We're going relatively light on this. Let's bring our control here, our midtones, up a bit to about there. Looks pretty good. And I think we're okay on the whites as well. This just brightens the whole picture up, as you can see there. But right now I want to be able to easily see that edge. I think we're okay now. So we can see where that is. Just close that down. And the nice thing about the adjustment layers, you can always come back here to that adjustment layer, double click on the icon, and that brings the adjustment back up again so you can readjust. That's why I like using these instead of just using these straight adjustments over here under the enhance. Much more control this way. Okay, let's come back down to our layer 1. I want to make a selection in here. All I care about is this right hand side. The left will be covered up by the girl's picture, so we're only caring about the right hand side. And I'll use the elliptical marquee. I'm starting off with a brand new, and I'll just pull this in so it's about the right size, kind of like that. And let's now adjust this edge. Go up here to select, come down to transform selection, and that gives you these little control handles. We can now move this around until I get it just the right size. Again, all I care about is the right hand side on this. And I'll pull this corner out just a bit, maybe pull this over just a little bit. So it just is just touching that edge. If it goes a little bit beyond, we're probably okay on that. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. There we go. So I think that controls that nice. I think we're right on that edge there. So there's our basic selection for the inside. And choose OK. Now that selects just this part. And I want to invert this selection so that the outside is selected. So back up to select and come down to inverse right there. So the outside is now selected. So if we make a layer mask out of this, we'll see this part and we won't see that part. Or another way to say that, it will be cutting a hole in here. So go up here to our top buttons up here and click on this one, add layer mask. There it is. That cuts a hole in the middle of that window. Now we'll be needing the outside here, cut off a selection right along that edge for the step where we put in the wall color in behind here. For that, to make that easy, let's go ahead and save our selection. We can bring our selection back up again. Just do a select and reselect. There we go. And then select, and down here, save selection. I'm just going to call this one window. And choose OK. So you can now bring that selection back up again. That just selects this area. We'll be using that in just a bit. So go ahead and deselect that. So there's our plane in the background. There's our basic window frame in here. We now can work on making the wall over here on the right hand side. And that's why we just saved that selection. So let's make a new layer. Now notice how this one kind of jumped in like that. That's because the new layer came in above this layer here. I'm just going to pull this layer up to the very top and then right click and release from clipping mask. It's now just a plain layer up there. Okay, let's fill this one, but I want to fill it with kind of a mid-tone value from the coffee mug handle. So someplace in here somewhere, it doesn't really matter exactly where. I'll just grab my eyedropper and just grab something right in the middle. Just kind of a light mid-tone gray, as you can see over here. We're then going to fill this with that light mid-tone gray. So paint bucket, and there we go. I'm now going to bring the opacity down a bit so I can see what I'm doing. Like that, so we can now see the edge of that mug. Let's bring back up our selection. So select, load selection, and we'll find it in here. There's the window. Choose OK. And now I want to have this over here and at that larger size. So for that, I'll need to first back out a little bit. I'll click on the zoom tool here, and I'll just back this out so I can see what we're doing. That I think will work. And then go back up to select, transform selection. And I'll grab the upper right hand corner. I'll pull this one out a little bit, and then the bottom corner, pull that out a little bit until I get it out so it's just right next to the edge. Notice how it's inside of the edge a little bit. It's not right at that outer edge of that coffee mug, but it's very, very close. And right in there is just where I want that. Choose OK. So here's our new selection for the outside of our window. And we have that filled. I can then bring our opacity back up. And since the outside is selected, we can do our layer mask again. And there's the wall right here on top of that window frame. Now the edge in here is too hard. We want kind of a soft edge along there. We get that soft edge by going over here and just softening our layer mask. And I'll do that. Make sure on the layer mask side. Notice the light blue outline. Double click here, double click here. There's your light blue outline over here. Make sure you see the light blue outline around the layer mask side of your layer. And then go up here to filter, come down to blur and Gaussian blur. And here we can blur that edge out right there. See how it's really kind of blurring out that edge? And if I turn off preview, there's before, there it is after. So you're going to soften up that edge over there. And we'll bring it out just a bit so it looks like it's kind of a soft transition. And I think that looks pretty nice. Maybe a little bit more in there. That's too much. I think right about there looks nice. Nice little soft edge. Choose OK. Now I can move this whole thing back over to the right hand side. To do that, we want to have all of these three layers selected. So we're on the top layer. Hold the Shift key down, click on the mug layer right there, and we can then grab this and move it over to the right hand side a little bit and get it positioned where you want it, which is right about like that. Pretty close there. Again, we can adjust this as we need. Maybe bring it down just a touch. I'm going to use my arrow keys, cursor keys, just kind of tap it down just a little bit. Now it's a little bit too small, so use the Control-T keyboard shortcut. We get our control handles again. And I want just a bit larger. So I'll pull it down and see my corner. Let's pull it up just a little bit and bring it back up again. Now I've lost this bit right here. And if you look at the layer, that's just a layer mask. We can fix that very easily. Just make sure our colors are set at their defaults and that we have white in front. Go to the paint bucket, Make sure you're on the layer mask side. Look for that light blue outline. If you don't see it, double click on the side and then just click in here, and that fills in that bit with white, and that takes care of that side. Okay, we're now ready to bring in the picture of the girl. Go up to File, and I have mine right there. Now you can get this picture again from my download page for this video. Just look in the description for that link and you can download this picture. And there are a couple of problems with this one. The first one is, of course, she's facing the wrong direction. We want to have her looking to the right and not looking to the left. So you need to reverse this. Now to flip this picture, I need to first get rid of this background layer and make it into a regular layer. Just double click on the name. There it is. And just choose OK. What that does is it converts it to a regular layer and then gives it a layer 0 name. And that unlocks the layer. We can now flip this image. OK, image, rotate, and flip layer horizontal. There we go. She's in the right direction now. The next problem is to fit into our picture up here. We're going to be seeing a bit of this stuff. That's her knees right there and her sweater. And this just looks wrong in the image. We need to get rid of or hide this stuff. We'll do that by pulling her hair down quite a ways, down about that far, and just clean this stuff out. It'll be at the bottom of the picture, not going to matter down there, but we need to get rid of this stuff so it looks better. Now if you don't have floating windows, as you see mine are right here, go up to Edit, come down to Preferences and General, and make sure these two checkboxes are checked. Allow floating documents in expert mode, and also enable floating document window docking. With those two checked, we can then move this around and zoom in, stuff like that. So I'll pull this a bit larger here, put it over here so you can see our controls as well, and let's zoom in a little bit. I'll grab my zoom control, just pull it up like that so you can get zoomed in nice and tight on that. Go over here to the clone stamp tool. Now I have mine set on a soft edge brush right here, and this puts to the right a bit. The size is 65 pixels, and that's about that big. You can see it right there. There's about that big. That's pretty good for this. So our size is good, and I can see a lot of that picture. That's fine. So now just pull our hair down a ways using the clone stamp tool. Now up in here you might want to just cut it off kind of short. We'll see how this looks. We'll pull it as far as we can and then work with that. It's a bit of a problem on this picture obviously, but sometimes you have these problems you have to work with. Okay, let's hold the Alt key down over here and choose a bit of the hair right there. Alt key, I'll pull that straight down so I can actually see that hair in there. So I'll come straight down that and I'll just pull that down a bit like that, and I think that's okay. On that side, that's far enough down on that side. This is the easy one. Bit more over here. I'll come a ways up here and maybe right in here. Notice how the hair kind of curves right there. You want to be in the part that's facing the direction you want to work with so that it looks natural. Let's just pull this down a ways. I'm first filling in the hair, and then we'll come back and clean the edges up a little bit. And that looks all right. And just pulling down more of that hair in here. I'm going to go right there and try to extend that. A bit tricky right in there on that part. I think we can fix that though with our layer mask. And that looks, I think we're going to be okay now on this. And let's bring in some background in here. Go over under the background. Notice the background is a vertical shadow right in there. So I'll come in here and click on this. Because vertical just comes straight down, and that will retain that shadow properly. And just pull that down a ways here. And I went too far on that. Let's do a Control Z to back up. And try a bit more of that. I did want to get into the hair over here, so I'll start up here. That's better. Don't want to be cloning that hair. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good now. I can work with that. Alright, so just a bit of a extension here of the hair, and cleaning out some of the backgrounds. We can then work with this, make it look a bit more natural. Now, the amount of this kind of a fix will depend upon your original picture. In this case, there was a lot of problems in here we had to work with, but I think we're okay. Let's just set this back to docked like that and fill screen so you can see our picture. Now, ignore the hands, they don't matter. I'll float this out and then just grab this layer and drag it over here. And that brings it in with those fixes, as you can see. And now if I position this in here about right, okay, that looks okay. I think we're okay on the hair. So I think that works out fine. Close that, no need to save that one. We now need to clip out this background out of here so we can see our window frame. And for that, we'll be using the lasso tool. I have mine set for the polygonal, which is right there. And make sure you set at New Selection, left-hand side. I have feathering set at 1 pixel on this, which is okay for this kind of a job. And again, I want to come in here pretty tight, so let's zoom in again. I'll float this window this time. We had the other one floated last time. This is now our other picture. This is our main file picture. And let's get a pretty large size and zoom out until I see the whole image right there. Back to our lasso tool. I'll start right up in here, and I'll just make a selection right around her head. Not right into her head, but just outside. And we'll let the Refine Edge tool find the actual edge for us. We'll be using that in just a moment here. And come down. Now where it comes off the edge here, I'll just come back up in a little bit like that. That helps the Refine Edge tool. And then right down around the bottom. Once you're outside, you can actually do this outside. As you can see here. Doesn't matter down there on the left-hand side. We won't be using that at all. There's our selection. I need to fix this little bit here that I just messed up on. That's easy to do. Let's just go here, add to selection, and I'll make a new selection right outside like that. That just grabs that bit and adds it in. That's fine. Here's our selection. Now right here is our Refine Edge tool. I normally have mine set at the overlay, which is this red coloration. It just makes it easy to see. And for this tool, you just come in and paint right along that edge. And then let the Refine Edge tool find the actual edge for you. And it does a very good job of this in most cases. Sometimes you may have to go back in and make some slight adjustments on the layer mask, but it's usually a pretty good tool, especially if you have a clean background in there. It can do a very good job. Okay, I think that all looks fine. And then let's get this top part up here. I think I'll have to fix this a bit. I see a bit of red coming here I don't want to see, so I think that'll have to be touched up. I think everything else is okay. Let's output this to a layer mask. Choose OK. Actually, it came out just fine. Good. So there we go. There's our girl in front of the window. A few little things to touch up in here. It's a little bit wispy up here, a little bit soft up there. I think I can fix that on the layer mask. So double click over here. We're on the layer mask side, and I want to just darken down the layer mask right along that edge. So I'll go here to this tool. This is the burn tool. And let me just adjust my brush size a bit. Let's get this over here so you can see our tools. Bring that up a little bit. Okay, that's pretty good, 43 about. And I'm just going to come in here and I'm darkening up the layer mask, and that tends to help kind of hide some of that wispy stuff. That's fine. Last couple of tweaks. Let's do a little bit of value tweak on her first. So I'll do a layer mask on this. Let's do an adjustment layer. We'll find those here, layer, and new adjustment layer levels. Again, I'll go ahead and check that checkbox, choose OK. We can now adjust our levels just a little bit in here. Let's just bring our darks up a bit. Adds to the effect of there being light from this side. If it's darker on the left-hand side, that's where most of our shadows are. Looks like right around in the mid-range, maybe about 15 is pretty good on that one. You can lighten up the other side just a bit so there's more light on the light side. Again, that adds to the effect of there being light coming in from the window. And I'll leave the whites where they're at. Let's adjust our darks a bit more now to brighten the lights up. And that looks pretty good. So we're just trying to get the effect. Darkening the darks down on the left-hand side, lightening the lights up on the right-hand side. Gives the effect of more light over here. So that's good. Now let's do something kind of fun and do a little color shift on her overall range here. I want to make the right side of her face cooler because it's lit by the outside blue, and want the left side warmer just to accentuate that right side coolness. We can do that with an adjustment layer as well. So layer, new adjustment layer, and for this one, photo filter. And again, make sure this checkbox is checked. And we'll start off with a cooling filter, 82. Standard cooling filter. It's a pretty close color to that. If you want to, you can come in, you can actually grab a color in here using that eyedropper tool, but I'm just going to leave that at that default color. It's a bit strong, as you can see. So let's pull that back just a bit, maybe about half, about 12%. So she's a lot cooler now on that right-hand side, but I don't want it cooling off this left-hand side. So for that, we can work with our layer mask here and actually adjust a layer mask so that there's no cooling over here and there's more cooling on this side. We'll do that with a gradient. Here's our gradient tool. Now it should go dark to light. By default, this will be showing you your foreground background colors. If you're not seeing that, just click on this little thing here and you will see the black to white right there as your third choice. It's always in there. So black left-hand side, and I want white right-hand side. So I'll pull it about like that much. So I'm doing gradient right in here. And what happens is, now that that's on that layer mask, for that adjustment layer, I'm seeing the blue adjustment over here and no adjustment on this side. So cooler here and no adjustment over there. Let's now warm the left side up a little bit. Same basic trick idea. Layer, adjustment layer, photo filter. This time we'll do a warming filter. Again, make sure that little checkbox is checked. The default is warming filter 85, and that's fine. I'll leave the value, maybe a bit warmer on this. Let's just see what we can do here. I'm looking at this part of her face right in there. I'm going to go pretty warm on that. Maybe about 55%, so that's pretty warm. But I don't want it warming over the right-hand side. That's kind of defeating my purpose down here. So let's come down to this blue layer. Hold the Alt key down and pull the layer mask straight up and choose yes. Now I want to invert this layer mask. So go up here, make sure on the layer mask, look for that light blue outline, and then go up here to Filter, Adjustments, and Invert, and it reverses that. So now the warming filter is only showing right in here, and the cooling filter is only showing over here. So we have cooler on this side and then warmer on that side. Okay, so that's taken care of. Last little tweak, let's come back down here to our main layer. Looks like we can sharpen her up just a little bit. And we'll do that over here. Let's go up to Enhance, come down to Adjust Sharpness. Let's just preview that. I think the default settings are just fine. So I'll choose OK. All right, last little tweak. We're just about there. I want to push her back to the left a little bit. I think she's a bit too far over here to the right-hand side. But keep in mind that all of this stuff is part of her image. So make sure you click on her image, hold the Shift key down, click on that top layer. That's all of her adjustments up here. We can now pull all of that to the left-hand side a ways over here. And again, we have a layer mask problem right down there. So just click on that layer mask. I need to fill this in with black over here. And let's grab our paintbrush. And I think I'll increase my brush size a bit as well here. And I'll just paint in the layer mask on this side so I don't make any mistakes on this. Again, I'm just painting black on the layer mask. Okay, just about there. Now, the area down here in her picture is still bothering me. I don't really like that much. So I think if we make her picture larger, make her face larger in the frame, it'll solve that. We can actually hide that and not have that problem. So let's go to the zoom tool, and I'm going to zoom out a bit. Let's go way out. I need to be able to see the control handles out here. Okay, now I want to make her smaller, and I need to have all these layers selected. So again, click on her layer, hold the shift key down, click on the top layer up there, so these are all selected. They all work together. And then Control T, keyboard shortcut. There's our control handles. And let's now pull her out a bit. And let's see if we can find a nice position here that will hide that bottom hair. And I think we're just about there. So somewhere right around in here. Okay, the bottom edge of the hair is hidden. That's good. Choose OK. And let's go back and fit screen. And zoom in a little bit. And there we go. Last thing, of course, would be just to look around everything, see if there's any little touch-ups you want to do, but I think we're okay on this one. And there we go. So there is putting a girl into a picture, making it look like she's actually on a flight someplace. Here's our window frame, made, of course, with that coffee mug handle. And there's a picture out from a different photo out of an airplane. And we brought our picture in here of the girl on the left-hand side. As you can see, sometimes these kind of adjustments require a lot of little tweaks to get things exactly right, but that's part of the process of working on these merge image or combined image style photographs. But there you go. That's how you can take a picture, make it look like a girl is on a flight in an airplane with a fake window frame. If you like this video, make sure you click that like button and, of course, share by clicking on share as well. If you haven't already done so, make sure to subscribe as well so you don't miss out on any videos in the future. And to learn everything about how to work with Photoshop elements, look at my training courses, and there's a link right down there in the description. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you found it useful. If you like this video, click on the like button below to let others know. You can click the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my videos in the future. I'm frequently uploading new training videos. Don't forget to check out my website at howtogurus.com.